Hello and welcome to the Croatian Baggies podcast. This week we're absolutely delighted to be joined by Julian Dix. Julian, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Yourself?
Yeah, not too bad, not too bad.
Good.
So, for those who don't know what's happening, we've got Julian on this week, assistant manager to Slaven Bilic, former West Ham legend. And we'll start off by talking. There's one question we got asked, Julian. Were you more nervous about your first tee shot playing golf than you were your first penalty?
Yeah, because football was just second nature to me. I never thought I would miss a penalty, but once I got on the first tee in the pro tournaments, I always thought I would top the ball and things like that. But yeah, I mean, football was just instinct. And obviously I knew how to play football, and to be fair, I never thought I'd miss a penny. Obviously I did, but I never thought I would, so I was always confident of taking penalties.
One thing, one skill I've got when it comes to golf is I've got quite a good knack at hitting the tee further than the ball.
Julian, how's life treating you now? You've got a new child on the way and you've recently taken over Heybridge.
New child on the way. She's 8 months old. So she's is hard work, obviously, because obviously you get disturbed in the night and everything else. And at 52, it don't become any easier. So, but it's all good. I mean, listen, she's beautiful. She's adorable. Just hope she'd sleep a bit longer. But there you go.
And you've obviously returned.
Yeah, like I said, I was at Heybridge obviously before I come to West Brom with the gaffer. And yeah, like I said, we got promoted, but we couldn't go up for some stupid reasons. So I have a bit of unfinished business there. But yeah, I'm looking forward to get back involved. We don't start until the 1st of July, which is pre-season.
One thing that Ron Atkinson said before is that when he managed Oxford and comparing that with Man United, that United is an absolute doddle compared to like the smaller sort of non-league clubs. Do you find that?
No, I don't. I find it the other way around.
Okay.
I find non-league easier than professional football. For me, because non-league, they have to be committed because obviously they work. You know what I mean? They go to work all week and they train Tuesday nights and Thursday nights and play Saturday. So for me, they have to be committed to do it. And yeah, for me, it's more aggressive. I enjoy that, obviously, that side of it. And it's more raw. I mean, the referees are still crap, but it's obviously there's not massive crowds or anything like that. So I enjoy non-league football very much.
It's good without VAR as well.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I don't like VAR anyway. Yeah. I think it's ridiculous. But listen, that's just my opinion. So at the moment, we ain't got that.
Done.
Let's talk about Bilic, and he's a big hero of ours, Slav. I mean, we all know what he's like on the touchline, how passionate he is. But what's he like to work behind the scenes, and what is it that made you to click?
Well, listen, when Slav was at West Ham, we shared rooms. You know, I mean, he was my room partner. He used to make me cups of coffee and things like that. Now I've become his coach's assistant. I have to make his coffee. But he's just good to be around. You know what I mean? He's a good laugh, and we have a lot of fun in things like that. But obviously with football, you have to be serious at times, but you still have to be able to enjoy each other's company.
Do you remember the phone call that Slav made to you to say West Brom are interested? Will you join?
Yeah, I was in America. I was in North Carolina coaching. I go over every year and coach kids over there. So I was sat in a cigar bar having a cigar and drinking, and the phone call went and his number come up. So I spoke to him and he said, look, I'm going to West Brom. I'd like you to come with me. And obviously I was still at Heybridge. So And for me, listen, as I said, I love it at Haybridge, but I couldn't really turn down the opportunity Slav offered me.
Yeah.
Again.
What before joining West Brom, what were your what were your impressions of West Brom in general?
Listen, I've played against West Brom many times. Even as a coach at West Ham, we played against West Brom. It reminds me a bit like West Ham. The ground's nice and tight. The fans are passionate. Don't get me wrong. For me, the West Ham fans are more passionate. But it's a great little ground. And there's always a good atmosphere. Always a good atmosphere. And they again, listen, they like to play football.
Lost connection. And when you stepped into the training ground on that first day, how did it feel? How did it feel going into a club that had, struggled to get promoted the first time round? What was the atmosphere around the place?
It was a good atmosphere. Listen, they were a good bunch of lads when we went in there. And again, it was pre-season, so it wasn't hectic or anything like that. So they were getting put through their paces in training and things like that. So, listen, like I said, it's when you go into a new job, it's always a bit not intimidating. You're always cautious, really, of people in players. So again, you don't ball in there going like shouting or things like that. But like I said, the boys were superb. Yeah, I mean, they were really good, and they trained exceptionally hard, especially pre-season.
Was it like that from day one, that they were all on board with the plans?
Yeah, listen, the thing is, the gaffer likes to play football.
Yeah.
And if you don't like playing football, you're in the wrong job.
Yeah.
So obviously the gaffer sets his stall out, he tells them what he wants. But again, he expects them to work hard in training.
I think that's one of the things supporters loved, and that's why there was so much unity towards yourself and Slav coming in, because we got the style of football back. That was sort of the West Brom way, the natural DNA of the club. And I think it was so refreshing because we'd had years of sort of more direct, not so much possession-based football.
Yeah.
And the interest from supporters' point of views had sort of waned a little bit. So to have that back was fantastic.
Yeah, well, listen, possession don't always win you games.
Oh, absolutely.
But 8 times out of 10, it does. If you can keep the ball, for me, just keep the ball and make the other team run. It's as simple as that, from my point of view. Maybe not from the gaffers, but from my point of view. So again, listen, obviously we were at West Ham. They like to play football at West Ham. We were under Harry Redknapp, who also liked to play football. So again, football, from my opinion, football should only be played one way, which is
definitely
possession, keep the ball, and that's it.
Yeah.
How difficult did COVID impact on the season and the way it was going? And on the return, do you think having no fans played a bigger part than you thought it would?
So COVID, obviously it affects you. Yeah, I mean, you had, I think, 2 or 3, couple of months off in stuff like that, of no football, no training. But when we were allowed back, you weren't allowed in the changing rooms, you weren't allowed in the buildings. Then obviously they brought the testing in, so we got tested twice a week. We had a couple of nurses outside the training ground entrance, and we had specific times that we had to go in and get tested. And the results come back within 24 hours. So from that point of view, it wasn't so bad. But everything had to be wiped down, like all the balls, obviously the cones and the mannequins, it all had to be wiped down. And a lot of people like Jacko, the kit man, Dan, the kit man, they had to do all this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It just makes everything that much harder. So it was a bit hectic at times. Like we have a canteen at the training ground where you go in and have your food. We had to have takeaways.
Oh, really?
You know what I mean? We had takeaways, but again, it's not any hardship.
Did it create a stronger team spirit in that sense?
Not really, because you trained and you had to go home. You couldn't hang about. You had to, you couldn't
No
shower there in the
socialising.
beginning. Yeah, you couldn't shower there in the beginning. So you had to do your training, you had to go home. So the only time really you see the players was on the training ground. So once that was finished, they get their packed lunch and they'd be gone. So it was a bit difficult at times. And with the no crowds, yeah, probably the first 5 or 6 games, it was very, very strange, because I said I made my debut in about 84, 85, and there's always been supporters, always, not many at times, but there's always been supporters. But then there's none. I mean, completely nothing. And it was like pre-season.
Mhm.
So really you had to try and create your own atmosphere on the pitch. It sounds silly, but you did. You know what I mean? You had to play with tempo, because sometimes the games were, you know what I mean, you could have stopped them and gone home.
Yeah.
There was no enthusiasm.
It's just flat.
Everything was flat. Like for the first 4 or 5 games, 6 games, everything was flat at times. Maybe not in the beginning, but certain parts of the game. And like I said, when the crowd's there, obviously, like everybody knows that the crowds are fantastic, like the 13th man. But when no one's there, it was dead.
On that, as a player, do you hear the fans? Do you hear what they're chanting, or are you just in the zone and
Well, it depends what they're chanting. They're chanting. They're chanting at you,
hearing.
and they're calling you names. You hear everything. But yeah, you hear most things. You know what I mean? You hear most things. So sometimes it's good that you hear things that they're cheering you on and things like that. And sometimes it's not so good when they're slagging you off. But they slag you off for a reason. One, because probably you're not working hard enough, or 2, you're having a bad game, which happens. I mean, we all have bad games, we all have off days. But for me, there's no excuses not to work hard enough. Doesn't matter if the crowd's there or not. So
At West Brom, was there any standout individuals for you that showed that leadership, that strength, that quality that you desired for the club to push forward?
I mean, that's difficult. And Jake Livermore was the captain. And for me, as a captain, you don't have to go around shouting at people and things. But sometimes you need to put your arm around players and drag them through. And Jake was good at that. Charlie Austin in the dressing room was good. Carl Bartley in the dressing room was good. But again, you need everyone as a captain, especially when you're in the position we were in the Premiership, when you're towards the bottom. Because I've been there, West Ham, I've been there with you need people to drag you through. But I mean, you can't just have one person or 2 people. You need everybody to drag you through. But again, if you do your job on the pitch and you work as hard as you can, then supporters can have no qualms if things ain't working out, because all you can do is give your best and work hard enough.
Yeah.
And what did it feel like to achieve promotion? A few bumps in the road, but you got there in the end. Was it in the back of it? It's okay.
No, go on. Sorry.
Was it in the back of your mind? Well, we've overachieved.
No, I don't. To be honest, I don't think we overachieved in the Championship. I think we were up there the whole season. You know what I mean? First, second. I'm not even sure we dropped to third. I'm not sure. But
it was 14 wins out of 22 at the start. Yeah,
and we done well. And we were playing well. We passed the ball well. People were chipping in with goals. Then all of a sudden, obviously, COVID hits, and things turn around the other way. So when we got back playing, it wasn't so good. Then obviously you start thinking, hang on a minute, are we gonna get over this line? But like you said, we did in the end, and to achieve promotion in the first season was fantastic. Whether it's by 1 point or 1 goal, doesn't matter. At the end of the day, we done it, and that was a job that was given to Slav to get promotion in 2 years. You've done it in a year.
Exactly.
And for me, I mean, I remember texting Slav, and I said to him, listen, you have to take all these plaudits, because at the end of the day, when things don't go right, they slag you off. They don't slag me off as a coach. They don't slag Danilo or Dean off as a coach. It's always the gaffer's fault or the player's fault. So when you get promotion, listen, mate, you have to take all the plaudits with the players. And that's what I text him. So
was it strange not having supporters there the night that we achieved that promotion? Again,
it was, but they were all outside in the car park.
yeah.
Standing on the roofs and
Yeah, listen, it is. Obviously, you would love to win promotion with the stadium full, but unfortunately, it didn't happen. But as supporters, they were there anyway. So
Nobody cared that night.
The players went out there and no, exactly. And like you said, we got promotion. As I said, whether it was by a goal or by a point, it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, that goes on Slav's CV. That goes on my CV. That we got promotion from the Championship to the Premiership with West Brom.
Absolutely. And what a great time that was. You know, if you could go back to that feeling with a stadium full of supporters, it would just be 10% better.
Yeah, I mean, I achieved it with West Ham. When I played for West Ham, we got promoted and everybody ran on the pitch. Right. It was electric. But like you said, obviously, once the final whistle went, obviously the champagne come out and everything else. It was nice, but it would have been great to...
Did you treat yourself to a cigar?
Oh yeah, I went on the way home, and I got home and I had half a bottle of whiskey.
That's awesome. So, when we got into the Premier League, it's become quite evident to supporters that there was that maybe lack of support or lack of leadership from the club's hierarchy in terms of what was going on, in terms of new players in recruitment coming in. We spoke a few weeks ago to Paul Sharner, who used to play for Albion, and he said that he doesn't understand with the mentality that you have to spend money, you have to buy players, because that crop of players were good enough. They were good enough for the Premier League. How was that when it came to sort of summer recruitment and bringing in a new squad? What was the coaches and yourself and and Slaven's belief about that group of players that got into the Prem?
You always believe deep down that they can do a job. They got you there. You always believe deep down that they can do a job. But the step from Championship to Premiership, survival, is huge. Yeah, I mean, in the Championship, some games we didn't play so well, but we still had the ability to get through games, to win games. The Premiership, you don't get that. If everybody's not on their job, and unfortunately, we were inconsistent in many games. But again, when you look like Tottenham, they beat us 1-0. It was just
the odd margins, weren't it?
Yeah, it is. But like I said, that's what happens. Sometimes it's small margins, sometimes it's not. But again, when you get a result at the Etihad, 1-1, you think, well, why can't we do this every week? Yeah, you need a little bit of luck along the line. Of course you do. You always need luck in football. And I think Man City game, we had a bit of luck. But the Tottenham game, maybe we didn't. The Chelsea game, maybe we didn't. But it happens. It's football, unfortunately. Like I said, I've been there with West Ham and I've been there with Birmingham. But like I said, everybody, when you're in the top division, you have to be on your game every week. Every week.
From a large group of fans, we kind of acknowledged that the team was largely inexperienced at Premier League level, and they were kind of learning on the job. So we were frustrated when they brought down the end of Slav's reign. Like that.
Yeah, listen, but like I said, football is brutal. It's brutal at times. You know what I mean? If you go into the job thinking, yeah, I'm going to be here for the next 10 years, you're mistaken. Unless you're maybe a Guardiola or someone like that has a choice of whether he stays or not. So when you're a manager like that, it's not so bad. But when you've gone from the Championship to the Premiership, and the club haven't really spent any money to stay there, it's always going to be difficult. Even if they did spend money, it would have been difficult for West Brom, because you can only bring in maybe 3, 4, 5 players. But then obviously you're relying on the other 6 or 7 or 8 players to do their jobs as well. So it was always going to be difficult. We knew that. So at the end of the day, you have to accept that. So if they're not going to spend any money, then what can you do?
Yeah. Did you have any we spoke just before the interview started about Kevin Keane, who was assistant at Baggies under Steve Clark. Did you have any contact with Kevin about the club before joining?
No.
Is that just through own self-belief and self-knowledge?
Yeah, because at the end of the day, they're going to be different players, and obviously Slav's a different manager to Steve Clark.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm a different coach to Kevin Keane. Obviously, Dean and Danlo are different coaches to Kevin Keane. So obviously, every manager has their own different ways of how they treat people, how we train, how hard we train, and things like that. So everything's going to be different. So you have to go in, put your own mark down. I mean, i.e. Slav, and say, right, this is how we're going to do things. Either you're on board or you're not. If you're not on board, then you can go.
So what coaching aspect was delegated to yourself under Slav? What was your role in terms of the day-to-day coaching?
Well, we like me, Dean, and Dan, I used to coach every day. Obviously, maybe possession drills, shooting drills, crossing drills, defensive drills. So we would do something every day. Obviously, the gaffer said, right, this is what I want us to do in training, try to achieve, and we had to put sessions on for that.
And was that based on sort of West Brom's way of playing, or would a lot of that be attributed to the opposition we were against?
No, because for me, I presume if you're going to play Man City and you're going to play your Liverpools, you have to not adapt to them, but you have to set your stall like, because listen, they're good teams. Yeah. I mean, they're fantastic teams. So you have to set your stall like for certain teams. But majority of it, listen, you have to play how you play. Because I always said to Slav, look, at the end of the day, who cares about the other team? Listen, if we go out and we work as hard as we can, everybody gives 100% and does the best they can. As I said, we all have bad games and things like that. If we lose, then we lose. There's nothing you can do about it. But it's when players don't give 100%. That's when things start to go wrong. Like the Man City game, the boys were unbelievable. You know what I mean? Throwing their bodies in front of the ball. They were superb. And it showed. But as I said, you always need a little bit of luck along the line, especially when you're playing your Man Cities in your Liverpools in teams like that. So, again, for me, majority of the time, you have to go out and play how you play.
I mean, following Bilic as we do, me and Dave took a keen interest in West Ham when Bilic returned as boss. We went down to Upton Park, the London Stadium. I mean, that first season coming back, he hit the heights with some famous wins. And that last game at Upton Park, how magical was that?
Yeah, it was West Ham. Obviously, I was there for 11 years as a player. It's an unbelievable football club. Upton Park was an unbelievable place to play football. And it was great to obviously be there with Slav on the last season that we knew Upton Park was going. For me, it was quite fitting that we had one of the biggest clubs in the world in Man United come to Upton Park and we beat them.
That was a great game, that was. I remember that.
It was.
Was it 3-2? It was 3-2?
Yeah. But the thing is, it started all before that. I mean, we're coming down on the coach from the hotel to the ground. Barking Road and Green Street was just, you couldn't get the coach through there. It was incredible. I mean, I've never seen anything like it. It was unbelievable. And to go and beat Man United at Upton Park, the last ever game, incredible. Absolutely incredible.
I think it was a mistake to move to the London Stadium.
Yeah, but I understand that football, you have to progress. You have to have bigger stadiums. But like I said, I at West Ham, I only ever played at Upton Park. You know what I mean? For me, the ground was unbelievable, especially when the big boys come to town. You always had a chance of beating them because obviously the fans were nice and tight, and it was quite an intimidating place to play football. Because I played there for Birmingham against West Ham, and I fucking hated it. I hated it. It was horrible. But when you play for West Ham, it's the best place in the world to play football. And the Olympic Stadium, listen, is a great stadium. But for me, it's not a football stadium.
No,
but as I said, yeah, it's huge. But as I said, it's football. It has to progress. Would I like West Ham to still be at Upton Park? Of course I would, because I love the ground.
It felt like it was worth like an extra 10 points a season or something. So it seems.
It was an incredible place to play football, because when I first went there, people were that close. You're taking a throw and they were tapping you on the back. They were asking if you want sweets and things like that. You know what I mean? It was that close, and it was intimidating to your opposing teams. And I mean, really intimidating, like your big teams, like your Man United, your Tottenhams, your Chelseas, your Arsenals, your Man Cities. I mean, it was intimidating for them. And that's why we got results against them. I remember playing there, beating Liverpool 4-1 in a cup game, beating Man United twice. Yeah, I mean, it's just an incredible place. It was an incredible place.
It was like a whole team ethos from supporters and players, weren't it? When it's
it was. It was superb.
It was a different coaching staff at West Ham with Nicola and Edin. Were you surprised to see Edin get the Dortmund job, and have you been following his progress?
Yeah, listen, I still speak to Edin. I still speak to Nicola. And was I surprised? No, because Edin was at Borussia Dortmund before. And obviously he went back there. The manager got the sack for me. The next step was to give Edin the job. And he's done very well. Obviously, Dortmund is a fantastic club. It's a big club. So listen, from my heart, I hope he does really, really well. So it's always going to be tough, but so why not give him the job? It's just proven that at the moment, touch wood, he's doing a good job.
Yeah. And what are your thoughts on West Ham? How are they doing now, and what can they go on to achieve? How far can they go?
West Ham this season it's been superb, absolutely superb. They have some good players. Obviously, they have to. I know there ain't many games left, but they have to keep their players obviously fit, which ain't always easy. And the players still have to perform. So, like I said, whether it's 20 games left or whether it's 6 games left or 2 games left, they have to perform. And listen, there's no reason they can't be in the top 5. No reason. Even when you look at them in the games that they just get beaten, they perform well. I mean, David Moyes has done a fantastic job there second time around.
Yeah.
There's one point I wanted to touch on back with West Brom, because I think a lot of supporters would be frustrated if we didn't ask. But on the night of that draw with the Etihad, had there been a sense that the club were looking to make a change, or was it just completely out of the blue? Because it was an absolute shock to us when Dan sent me a message saying, "Have you checked Twitter?" Nearly had a heart attack.
Yeah, I mean it. Listen, when you draw against Man United, the Etihad, Man City, the Etihad, of course you don't. It's a magnificent result. But we were coming back because we had 2 coaches, one for the staff and one for the players because of COVID. So, and one of the 2 of the boys at the back that were on the staff said, "Have you seen Twitter?" Well, no. What? He said, "Well, the gaffer's getting sacked tomorrow." And I went, "Nah, surely? Really? After that result?" But nothing surprises me in football anymore. Nothing surprises me. So, listen, we went into work as usual the day after, and I mean, Slav would have had his thinking head on. He'd have given everybody the day off, but we were in, and that was it. We got pulled in the office, and we were told that they were getting rid of us. But as I said to you earlier, it's football. If you think you're going to have a job for 10 years, then you're mistaken. Football's changed so much now from when I played. Managers, had jobs for 10 years and beyond, but nowadays it doesn't happen. So you have to go into it thinking, "Listen, we're going to do the best we can, and we'll see what happens."
It's not right how the news was leaked. I think you guys deserved a bit better from the club on that part.
Yeah, because listen, obviously it was done before the Man City game, and obviously something's happened, and somebody's leaked something along the line, and it's got out. But listen, it is what it is.
Did it hurt?
It's not. Listen, it's not nice to get sacked. You know what I mean?
We can't imagine anything that hurts the Terminator.
Listen, we got sacked at West Ham.
That exactly. I was gonna...
Obviously, I mean, I love West Ham.
Yeah.
And like I said, I was there for 11 years as a player, 2 years as a coach, and to get the sack from there that hurt me. It wasn't nice, but as I said, it is football, and it is brutal. Football's brutal. So you just have to suck it and get on with it. That's it.
There's the connection's just here. Go on, Dan. Are you there, Dan?
What are we gonna?
The connection went. I was going to say the West Brom.
Hello.
Hello. Sammy Lee, who you played under for Liverpool reserves.
Yep.
Working with Big Sam. How do you see? It looks impossible for any chance for Albion to stay up now. How do you see West Brom's future panning out at the minute?
Look, obviously, we were there. I mean, I hope they stay up. Yeah. Obviously, I know Sammy because I played in Liverpool with Sammy. He was a coach there. Yeah. But it's still possible. Yeah, so you always have to believe. Especially, listen, football's like, I think it's Jimmy Greaves. Football's a funny old game. Many things can happen. And they've had, like, apart from the last one, but they've had some good results. Yeah. The last 3 or 4 games, they've good results, picked up some points. So listen, you're always hoping and you're always believing that they can get out. Listen, it's tough. Of course it is. It's football. You're at the bottom. And that's why you need your big players to turn up to big games. And I mean, that's every single week.
I've just seen the timer pop up on Zoom, but we've got one final question for you.
Yep.
If you had to go, well, if it was brought round to the present day now, who would win, Berkovic or Hartson?
Oh, Johnny all day long. Johnny all day long.
Were you there? Well, you were there when
Johnny was a beast.
How was that training session? Yeah.
It was. Listen, it's one of them things that happens in football. It don't happen every day, but it does happen. People fall out and they have fights and things like that. So there was many fights at West Ham,
including your testimonial.
Including my testimonial.
I think it was Stimats that kicked that up, wasn't it?
Di Canio's done it as well. Yeah. So, but it is football. I mean, unfortunately, Sky there that day when Johnny and Berkovic had a scuffle. But there was so many fights at training. So it's a good job that cameras went there like every week.
Well, we'd like to say thanks to Julian for his time with us today. Really fascinating interview and really appreciate it.
You're welcome.